It's another episode of Murder the Internet with John
and Rich.
And Rich, have you heard the big news?
I'm pregnant.
You're pregnant.
Oh, God, it's a beautiful, bouncing baby boy.
How far along are you, buddy?
I'm all the way.
All the way?
I did it.
All the way pregnant.
I did
You're
it.
100% knocked up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know, on your gas gauge, there's an E and an F. I'm F all the way.
Wow, fucked.
I'm F'd
Is what
all
that
the way.
stands for, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it stands for?
Literally and figuratively,
So
yes.
why can't we do a podcast without the word fuck?
Well, okay, can we do this show without fuck?
Yeah.
All right, let's fucking do it.
What are we talking about? And don't say fucking.
Okay.
Oh, shit.
Because you know what? I got a letter from a little
Which
kid.
letter?
Well, here, it's
F.
right here.
F. Don't tell me it's F.
He says, "Dear John and Rich," because he apparently thinks that we're one person. "I love your show. My
Your
name
is spelled wrong.
My name is Cucumber, but some people
Call me Cucumber.
Cucumber. And what I love about your show, so funny, especially when you talk about dolls.
Oh.
So funny. But my mom heard me listen and said, you guys say the following words too often. Fuck."
Guilty as charged. If I found one thing, it's that saying words completely overrated. You know, the best podcasts are the ones with the least amount of words.
Right, just the silent ones. Yeah, the ones where you just hear.
Have you heard
crickets
Waterfall?
chirping in the back. Yeah,
Waterfall's
that's a good
great.
one.
It's,
I listened to that one.
7 hours, he just says, waterfall. And that's 7 hours of silence.
I don't know how to urinate. So
You're a what?
I never learned how to do it. So I listened to the Waterfall thing to make me just piss my pants.
I don't know what words are.
Oh, wait, piss.
I
Piss was on the
skipped
list too.
through every grade in every school. I just skipped right through it.
Like they passed you. They're like, this
They
kid
just
is so
said, hey,
smart.
just go ahead. I mean, I smelled a lot. I did start fires.
Right.
Guilty as charged once again, but yeah, I just skipped through every grade. That's why I have a doctorate. I have 12 doctorates, in fact.
I knew a kid
past me.
I knew a kid who skipped through every grade, but like literally, and eventually he went on to drink a lot of Zima.
Zima. Oh,
Yeah.
I love the 80s.
Yeah.
Tell me more about the 80s.
Well, the thing about the 80s, Rich, is that
Hands across America.
Ronald Reagan was an actor.
God bless his soul.
George H.W. Bush now
Wasn't invented yet.
wasn't invented. Had no idea that was coming. Nintendo was all the rage.
And everybody said, this Ronald Reagan is a bad president, but not as bad as the George Bush's son, who I have no idea who he is.
Who is that?
Yeah, he's probably
I
been
don't
coming
know.
up in 12 years or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that Clinton guy, don't know who he is either.
And there will never be a worse president than those two, ever. There couldn't possibly be somebody that for millennia will look back at as the worst president of all, I almost said a bad word, all time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I said time.
Oh, that's
Sorry,
okay.
I know that's a bad word.
I'm sorry, I'm reliving the 80s.
So anyway, the 80s were great.
Yes, they
were
were.
so awesome.
I
and
had an
colorful.
Atari, and let me tell you, this Atari, it was like every other Atari, basically. It had the wood paneling and stuff.
Really?
But I used to play this game called Maze Craze on the Atari 2600, and the cool thing about it was not the game itself, because you play just the same fucking mazes every time. Oh wait, it's the F word. But what you could do was tilt the cartridge. It was actually called cartridge tilting, and it would play a weird new maze that applied to no rules of logic or physics. It would just be this bizarre thing, and your controller wouldn't work right. But if you cartridge tilted certain games, they would be completely new games that
Really?
made no sense.
Like what game? Like E.T.?
Maze Craze, for example. Well, E.T. didn't really make
Yeah, but
sense
if you tilted it, maybe it made sense.
yeah, E.T.'s head would have just flown right off, and you would just hear...
We're sorry we made this game.
Yes, you'd hear the 1-bit sound effect of Elliot. Just just a square wave.
Real quick. So have you ever been to Universal Studios in Orlando, Florida?
Maybe.
There's an E.T. ride at Universal
that sounds
Studios
nice.
in Orlando, and it's great because you go to like E.T.'s home planet and everything. But the thing about it that's so great is it was made in like the late 80s, early 90s. And so using technology from then, what they have is when you go in, they ask you for your name. And then at the end, E.T. goes, "Goodbye, Rich. Goodbye, Jonathan." Good. Because E.T. already kind of sounds like a robot, so it's not much of a stretch.
Yeah.
When Katie and I went there, my wife and I went there, we went to Universal Studios Orlando. We were like, my name's Jonathan and her name's Katie.
You said the
I wrote
Jonathan
it down.
part and she said the Katie part.
Right. It was weird. And then the people behind us were I believe from India, but I'm not really sure exactly where they were from. And I don't want to be racist by trying to specify.
They're foreigners.
But their names were like Rahijagit.
That's so weird.
and
what the hell?
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the name, but their name was like Rahijagadi Madan, you know.
When you
like
come to America, you change your name to American.
Like
you're James, you're John, you're Chris, you're Scott.
No, I'm not saying they should.
None of those silly things.
My point is this, so they, you know, it's Nahasi Vita Petalon, whatever.
Yeah.
And so they have to feed this thing into the ET.
You got to feed the ET is a slogan.
As we're leaving, the ET saying goodbye to everybody. It's like, bye, Mary. Bye, Joseph.
Thank you for feeding the ET.
Bye, Jesus. Bye, Jonathan. Bye, Katie. And then it gets to the people behind us, and it goes, bye. It just shorted out. Smoke started coming out of his eyeballs.
Oh, my God.
It was great.
My question about ET here, it's not about the ride, really. I think you've covered all of that.
Yeah. There's not much more to say.
ET's home planet. What is going on there? Seriously. So he came to Earth.
Well, that's in the ride. Do you want to hear about the... No.
Okay, ET came to Earth. Are we to accept that he was just a standard extraterrestrial? Like everybody, like he was the norm on his planet.
Right.
He wasn't special. He wasn't crummy.
He was just a terrestrial.
Yeah, he was an average terrestrial from the extra category.
He was AT.
So, yeah, he was an ATT. ATT. He was the ATTH0. No. Okay. Anyway. So on his planet, what do they do? They got long ass necks, right?
Yep.
They have a glowing finger. And they can float, kind of, and they're scared of dolls, like me.
Yes.
They hide in closets. Like, what is there? What industries do they have? How do they make money?
Have a spaceship? That's a great point, because you would think like their powers seem to be telekinetic. In nature, and so why would they even need like spaceships and things like that? They wouldn't have developed the technology, because like if you could just move shit across the room with your mind, you could move it across town probably, so you wouldn't need to invent a car or a horse-drawn carriage.
You're your own car.
You're your own car. You just move it yourself. So you wouldn't need a train. Eventually, that's how you get spaceships, is by inventing. That's right. Yeah. I think we found a flaw in ET.
So there's no Uber for ETs, basically. But when they come to Earth, I mean, he's still waddled around like a disgusting, sweaty roast beef, right?
Yeah.
And that's essentially what he was.
With a really sexy long neck.
He didn't seem very intelligent. You know, he was afraid of everything. And he only used his powers when he was like up against the wall. And he's just like, oh, these guys are going to off me. I'm going to use my power. Quick, right off the cliff. We're going to fly.
Yeah.
Just like in the Old Testament with Jesus. You know, when he was being chased by the people who loved Barabbas.
By the FBI.
By the FBI and Barabbas. Yeah. He said, hey, Elliot, who he was riding on the back of at the time, he goes, just run off this cliff. And Elliot was like, I don't think that's a good idea, Jesus. He's like, no, just trust me on this one. He's like, I don't think that's a good idea, Jesus. I've fallen many times before. And he goes, hey, when there's one set of footprints in the sand, that's where we flew.
Yeah.
And he's like, flying? Hell yeah. They rode off the cliff. Bam! They did it. They did everything they wanted to accomplish.
They hit the ground and died?
They did.
Yeah, that's how Jesus died. It's in the Bible.
Yeah, that's the New Testament.
Yeah, the
New Testament 2.0.
Right, the newest Testament.
But that's what the 80s were. You know, it was just a bunch of crap that really didn't make sense.
You know what I love the best about the 80s?
That they're not now?
That it's not happening anymore.
Lots of cocaine.
I love that. And yeah, the fact that everybody was walking around with at least one giant nostril from all of the coke they were doing. You couldn't bend over without blood just falling out of your face.
Well, think about it. I mean, in the 80s, they thought a lot of things that were good aren't really good anymore.
It's true.
Like, you know, they could say bad things, like racist things, and they'd just be like, ha, 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 oh, well, it's an R-rated teen romp comedy, so, you know, they can say that in Meatballs.
Yeah.
Or Porky's,
It was a more tolerant time when it came to intolerance,
but
which there
was always
you could make racist jokes and nobody would care.
It was all class warfare, though. If you look at the comedies, it would be all these,
like Breakfast Club.
Well, like Revenge of the Nerds, for example. There was nerds and there was non-nerds, and the non-nerds were way higher up. The nerds were down on the ground, so they had to punch up.
Yeah,
and then all the jocks
and rape the jock's girlfriend.
They did.
Yeah. Remember? Because he puts on the Darth Vader mask and then has sex with her, and she thinks it's another guy, and it's okay eventually, but it really wasn't okay.
If you're raped by a nerd,
really,
it's okay.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, because
like you had it coming.
The nerds,
like if tomorrow I found out that Rich was stabbed to death by 100.
It's not the 80s. It's not the 80s.
Okay, but hold on. If I found out that you were stabbed to death by a 105-year-old woman, I'd be like, you couldn't fight off a 105-year-old woman. All right, yeah, you had it coming.
Yeah.
So if you're raped by a nerd, then you're like, is that what you're saying?
Well, if the nerd has a sexual prowess of a real human being,
Okay.
and we're assuming that nerds are below the evolutionary
course
scale
they
of real
are.
human being,
Yep, yep.
you've got the jocks. I mean, they wore their
low.
collars popped up. That's cool.
Right.
They had the white guys who have a lot of money.
Sure.
Having money is cool.
Oh, it's the best.
If you don't have money, you're lame.
Right.
I mean, I've seen a lot of people without money. You know what? Facts. They stink. Fact 2, they have no money. Fact 3, both the 2 facts plus 1 is fact 3.
Yeah, I use my money to clean my armpits.
Really?
That's what I use for deodorant.
I just burn it.
Yeah.
If I get money, I burn it.
I have a lot of weird infections under my armpits. By the
Really?
way.
I've noticed that.
A lot of lumps.
I'm looking at both your armpits right
Yeah,
now.
you can see all the lumps.
You've got a hole in your shirt.
I know.
Your Star Wars shirt, by the way.
Yep.
Another product of the 80s is, the
Wars?
70s was basically the 80s in reverse. So
The
it was
70s
the 80s before the 80s.
The 70s was just a precursor.
Yeah, it was
the shot before the chaser.
80s beta is what they call the 70s.
Speaking of beta, yeah, that was the best thing about the 80s, was you had Betamax.
We didn't have
which was
Betamax.
a superior form of videotape.
Let me tell you something about
But
Laserdisc.
people are like, no, I don't like it because it looks too good and it's too small and portable.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was just expensive.
It was a little more expensive, but it was good.
What about Laserdisc? Let's talk
I never
Laserdisc.
had Laserdisc.
Okay. You got one thing. It's called the future. You buy Laserdisc, that's what you get.
Ah.
The future.
See, I
you
just
want
download all my
crystal
movies
clear
now.
in the 80s?
Yeah.
How did you download in the 80s?
I
ARPANET?
didn't know we were in the 80s. I thought we were in now.
Now we're in
I
now?
thought you were suggesting... Okay, I thought you were suggesting I get a Laserdisc player now,
Okay.
but you were saying get one back in the 1980s.
You can get one now.
I didn't.
No, get one
I was
now.
very poor. We didn't
one
even
now.
have beta.
I think they have John Carpenter's The Thing
Okay.
on Laserdisc.
Okay.
So get one now. eBay.
Were Laserdiscs, because I never had one, were they gigantic discs?
Like a record.
Like a record? Like compared to like a CD or DVD? They were
But here's the
huge.
thing. They used lasers to read instead of actual physical touching it.
Oh.
See, it shot the laser, then you get the Star Wars. First
Okay.
you shoot the lasers, then you get the Star Wars. First you shoot the lasers, then you get the Star Wars. First you shoot the lasers, then you get the Star Wars. You know what I'm saying here?
Greedo shot first.
Who?
Yep.
Okay.
So you had Laserdiscs.
Yeah.
You had...
Pac-Man cereal.
Pac-Man
Let me
cereal,
throw that
which
out
I
there
never
for
ate.
you. I did. My parents wouldn't buy cereals that had sugar as the first 5 ingredients, which narrowed down the 80s cereal market to like Total, and that's it. And the shit with the shredded wheat that doesn't have the frosting on the top,
Yeah.
like shredded wheat for lamers, to use the parlance of our times.
They're called gamers now, but yes.
Oh, yeah, fat virgin. So anyways, yeah, I would go to my friend David Williams' house, and he also had an Atari. My parents didn't let me have an Atari. So I would go over there. We would play, what game? The Empire Strikes Back, and then sneak down at 2 a.m. and eat Pac-Man cereal in his kitchen cupboard.
While you played Atari?
No,
No.
These were separate things. We would do one and then do the other one
the other.
afterwards. The cupboard wasn't big enough to fit the TVs, and plus the TVs back then were very portly.
A little bit younger than you. We didn't have Pac-Man cereal. We had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cereal, which was as healthy as you think it was.
I love
you
being a
had your
turtle.
own. You had your own turtle bowl.
I love being a cereal.
which was great, and it was like 90% marshmallows. You know how most it was like basically Lucky Charms, but with Ninja Turtles. And I remember the milk made me go blind after I drank it.
Yeah.
Just for a little bit.
That's
like
how you know
everything
it's
got
working.
fuzzy. Yeah, it was the diabetes. We didn't know at the time. It was obviously diabetes. I thought it was like if you've ever touched an electric fence, it was like that.
Yeah.
Where everything went gray for a second and then black and then everything came back. It was great.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you saw it before. Have you ever seen the Cabbage Patch Kids cereal commercial?
Yes.
And the text is scrolling vertically?
Yes.
And you watch it and you're just like, I want to die. Out of any product I could ever purchase, this is the one I will absolutely not. And we never did.
Never did.
Because the
Not once.
commercial was terrible.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Because you'd have to be reading as the text is moving vertically up.
Look, you can eat turtles.
It's like scrolling credits.
You can eat a Pac-Man.
You can't eat turtles.
Yeah, but you can't eat a Cabbage Patch doll.
No, it's
So
unwieldy.
why would I want a cereal based on them?
Yeah, why would you say, I love Cabbage Patch Kid dolls, I wish I could eat one?
Yeah.
Because you would just, if you want to do that, you just eat a Cabbage Patch Kid doll. You can't do it with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Where are you going to go find a turtle?
In the
They
sewer?
don't even fucking exist.
Where we always went.
I went to the creek all the time. I went to the sewer all the time. I did not see a single turtle.
Never?
This is bullshit propagated in our society by the Zionist elites. Turtles don't exist.
I think the
Prove
turtles,
me wrong.
I think the turtles are avoiding you.
What?
You've never seen a turtle in real life?
No.
Never?
I saw what I thought was a turtle once. I'm convinced it was CG. Lasers, mirrors, smoke screen, DARPANET.
Okay.
So turtles don't exist.
I'm
For all intents and
Have you
purposes.
ever been to the zoo and seen a turtle?
The what?
Like the
No,
zoo?
I don't know what that is. I haven't been
a
there.
herpetarium?
I went bowling once.
It's not the same as
There was
zoo.
no turtles at the bowling.
Very different, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
How?
Yeah. Well, in bowling, there's a lane
Yeah.
with wood, and you throw a ball to knock down pins.
Just like a zoo.
And a zoo, a zoo has none of that and has a bunch of animals in jail, basically.
That's skin deep.
Skin deep? Mm-hmm. Okay.
In a way, bowling alley is everything.
Zoos were better in the 80s.
Not the Kansas City Zoo. The Kansas City Zoo was just bars. Bars and concrete.
Was
They'd be
there
like,
not a...
here's
oh,
the polar
really?
bear and just be there on concrete slabs. And they're like, okay, here's a toucan and just be there on concrete slabs. The only difference was the amount of caging around it.
Yeah, how is this not better?
Well, now they have things like, oh, well, the animals have feelings.
In their natural habitat. But let me ask you something. If you're an animal and it's supposed to be your natural habitat, do you really think, are you really that stupid as an animal that you're like, oh, you know, this is just like my home on the Serengeti. There's sand, there's a rock,
There's a human being feeding me?
There's people 20 feet away going, don't get the elephant. The elephant is great. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing as my home in the Serengeti plain. It was better when the animals they had no delusions.
Yeah.
We weren't fooling them.
You're
They
in
knew
the
exactly
goddamn
what they
zoo.
were in. They knew where they were. It wasn't messing with their heads by trying to trick them into thinking that they were just in this weird part.
You've done something wrong, now you're here.
Right. You're being punished for the sins of your kind.
And let's think of it from another way. I mean, what if they were the assholes of their particular race or species or whatever?
That's the way I always look at it.
Like they got this, like they looked at all the lions, they said, okay, we're going to get the one who's the biggest fuck up.
Yeah.
And they just watch him over a period of years, like, okay, that motherfucker there with the splotch on his, he's just shitting and rolling in it. He hasn't caught shit. He's about to die. He can't eat a mighty gazelle. He runs into trees. We're bringing him back.
Well, when you think about it, the animals that we do have in zoos are the worst because they're the ones that got captured.
They don't do anything.
Yeah,
What's the purpose of animals in the zoo?
I prefer animals who weren't captured.
There's no purpose of animals in the zoo. There's no purpose. What do? You look at them, they're still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big deal.
But as far as their guilt is concerned, that's why whenever I go to the zoo, I always flick off the animals.
Yeah.
And people are like, why are you flicking them off? I'm like, he knew what he did.
Yeah.
He knows. Look at that polar bear acting so innocent.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
What if we're the ones actually in the cage? Huh?
In spite of all of our rage.
No, we're thinking more than Nine Inch
Still
Nails.
just a rat in a cage?
No.
No,
What
those
if we're on the
Smashing
other-
Pumpkins.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah,
difference.
you said
between
Nine
two.
Inch Nails, though.
I wasn't thinking of Nine Inch.
You said
I was
Nine Inch
thinking
Nails.
of Nine Inch Nails.
But
No,
that's not a song by Nine
What
Inch
if-
Nails. Though it really seems like one.
I'd flip off Trent Reznor.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I would.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't yet.
He'd
I'd
probably
be like,
"Ugh."
hey, man, you wrote an entire album about your dog dying. Bing! That's the sound of my flipping off.
And he would probably go, I
did. I made a lot of money.
millions and millions of dollars off of that.
Now I'm muscly.
Yeah. And
I could break you in half.
bought so many drugs with it. It was great.
All the drugs.
All the drugs. Drugs in the 80s were the best. Cocaine, we already discussed that. But what other drugs did they have in the 80s? They didn't have antidepressants.
Well, yeah, they did.
They had cocaine. You're right.
What's the opposite of cocaine?
Heroin?
No.
Yeah, they had that.
Because
Just
cocaine's
wasn't
an
as
upper,
popular.
right?
What?
So the opposite of an upper is a downer. Debbie
Yes.
Downer.
Debbie Downer. They had her.
They had to have something because they, in all the shows from the 60s, like...
No, they had stuff.
you're-
They had like lithium.
John Lithgow.
Yep.
He was in Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai.
He was there to make even out your moods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you're feeling blue, John Lithgow comes to you, is the saying that was very popular in the 80s. It's not popular now for some reason. I blame Harry and the Hendersons.
Which was a great movie from the 80s. That was the thing about the 80s. Big feet everywhere.
Really?
Everyone had big feet, and
Is that what you
Bigfoot
call-
was everywhere. Yeah, in
Like
groups.
plural of Bigfoot?
Or is it like moose? You're right. I don't know.
It's
Is
not
it like
meese.
moose? You would say meese?
Meese,
You're
no.
right. You would say Bigfoot.
They're like, what is that, a retarded mouse? No, it's meese. I'm
Yeah.
talking multiple moose.
So Bigfoots were great
Multi-moose,
because
multi-pass.
we didn't know back then that they didn't exist. We thought they did, but now we know they don't because if they did now, everybody would have video of them or something, but there's not.
I've seen video.
You took video of Bigfoot?
I've seen video.
You've seen video?
It's very blurry. I think it was shot on Betamax. You can't tell what anything is. It's like a large turd moving gently in the wind.
I actually have audio from the 80s. I'm not making this up. From
80s
the
audio.
80s of Bigfoot talking. You want to hear
Oh.
it? Okay, hold on.
Please. Please.
Edit this out because I have to find it.
Yeah. Type it into the computer machine. I'll be sitting here. What's great is when Jonathan searches for Bigfoot, many answers come up.
This is from
the 80s.
This is from KMOV, which is a television station back in St. Louis, where I'm from. And this was a report they did on Bigfoot back in 1987, where somebody claimed that they had audio of Bigfoot, and this was the audio.
Okay. That's Peter Frampton's Squawk Box.
Yep, Bigfoot.
Wait.
You want me to play it again?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like Nick Nolte waking up. Yep.
Sounds like Joe Don Baker awake.
This is Mitchell.
I heard what the hell?
And that is a Bigfoot baby being shaken to death.
What the hell? Is that what Bigfoot babies say?
Apparently.
What the hell is clear?
Yep.
So, what was the context of this recorded exactly? Or did they give no context? Just walking down the street, I saw Bigfoot being throttled.
It was the 80s. Bigfoot mania was all the rage, man.
Was it?
Yeah.
I know Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah. Do you think that movie came out of nowhere? Do you think somebody was just like, let's just make up this Bigfoot thing and put a movie with the mom from Christmas Story and John Lithgow in a movie with a giant man who's covered in hair, eating flowers and goldfish?
You're describing John Lithgow. Are you saying there's multiple Lithgows? What a Lithgownian point of view, sir.
Anyway, so Bigfoot was all the rage.
I don't remember that.
It's huge.
Oh, I get it. Huge. Because Bigfoot is big.
Other thing in the 80s that I thought was
cartoons.
Cartoons.
What about that?
Yeah.
You know, the cool thing is you think about, you grow up, you watch, Transformers, G.I. Joe, all that stuff. You go back and you watch it, it's not that good.
It's hard to watch because you're like, this isn't even animated.
No, there's like two keyframes per episode.
Yeah, everything is really slowed down. It's like watching it in slow motion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like 6 frames per second, and all the animation outsourced to 7-year-olds in some Asian sweatshop, they're just like, yeah, this is what I think is going to be happening. Make sure that they jump out of the plane before it explodes. Nobody dies.
That's why at the bottom of the screen every once in a while it'll say, tell my mom and dad I'm okay. Yes. It only lasts for like a frame, but fortunately in these, that's like 13 seconds.
Trapped in making G.I. Joe for G.I. Joes. Let me out.
But the best cartoons of the 80s, G.I. Joe, as you already mentioned.
Thundercats.
Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
He-Man.
He-Man.
And of course, because you can have He-Man for women, you had She-Ra.
She-Ra!
Which was He-Man spelled backwards.
Which was the She-Hulk of the He-Man universe. There was also Captain NES.
Like Mrs. Wolverine was the Mrs. Wolverine of Wolverines.
Right. Do you remember?
That was maybe only in Deadpool, though.
Do you remember Captain NES?
I do.
Yeah.
I remember the Eggplant Wizard. I remember Mother Brain.
Mother Brain, right.
And the Eggplant Wizard was a bumbling, jumbling fool. And Mother Brain spoke jive. I think she was voiced by the guy from Designing Women. Meshack Taylor. I think Meshack Taylor voiced Mother Brain. Prove me wrong. And don't use the internet to do so because I won't listen. Cap. Yeah, just press enter. Press enter on the computer. Played by Levi Stubbs. Okay, well, that's close. They both have names. Who the hell is Levi Stubbs? I like how in Captain N, not only was he transported to the video game realm, but his dog had to come with him. like when they were preparing this, they had the width and height of the laser beam, and they just made it a little bit too wide. Yeah. So like, okay, we're going to get Captain N, but what if he's really fat? Okay, well, we're going to make it wide. Oh, shit, we got his dog.
Oh, no.
Now, what if they had the laser beam, but it wasn't wide enough? They got half of the dog. And it's like The Fly, where they
the back end of the dog.
And they're like, oh, my God, my dog, he murders. But just, ladies and gentlemen, don't use laser beams to move dogs.
I forgot King Hippo was in it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always treat my guests with respect.
That is Meshack Taylor. And you forgot perpetually constipated Dr. Wily.
Dr. Wily. Oh my God.
He's got a chin to die for.
I loved the show and had no idea how ridiculous it was.
It actually had better production values than most of the. Yeah.
As far as the animation is concerned.
It just didn't really make me want to purchase particular
Nintendo?
NES games.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I feel like if I watched the show, why do I need to buy the game? I've already experienced it.
well, here's the thing: Mega Man was an uptight asshole.
Yeah, he was.
He was a squat, green, just unfun guy.
Well, it kind of made me also
much like Toad.
like, look, why should I be Seamus in Metroid if Captain N is really the hero?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And do I risk playing Nintendo if it could potentially bring me and half my dog into their universe?
That's a great point. Why am I going to do that? I don't want my dog to be with me anywhere.
Yeah, since I saw Captain N,
universe.
Every day that I played Nintendo after seeing the first Captain N, I would not be in front of the screen. I would be on top of the TV, behind the TV. I wouldn't know what was going on, except I'm losing. She's got good teeth. Mother Brain had a good set of teeth.
Mother Brain was basically if you cut Freddy Krueger's face off.
Yeah.
And then gave him Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors
and
voice.
irradiated it to grow.
And then irradiated and slapped a brain on top of it and put some sexy fat lips on it. That was Mother Brain, and that was a show for children in the 80s.
She had Tood. She had Tood.
She had some
Before
Tood.
we even knew what Tood was.
Before we knew that it was cool to shorten words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what about Rad? I mean, we shortened Radical to Rad.
Sometimes I just go...
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Like,
you just shortened like 12 sentences right there.
Remember Rad Racing?
I do.
Yeah.
I remember...
They used to just call it...
What was that horrible NES game that you just ran forward? Yeah, I know that horrible one. Deadly Towers. No. The one where you're just running. 3D World Runner.
3D World Runner, yeah.
I described the one in 3D that you're running through the world. What is the name of that game? Maze Craze. Damn, I got it.
There you go.
Yeah.
That was when you tilted the cartridge.
Yes.
Yeah, then you had 3D World Runner.
Yes.
So cartoons sucked. Mm-hmm.
Drinks sucked.
Drinks.
I mean, everybody says, oh, Ecto Cooler. You know what Ecto Cooler was? It was 7 pounds of sugar with green coloring.
You know why those things tasted good? Because you were too young to know the difference.
Exactly.
They were like the first thing you ever drank. If the first thing you ever drank was... We're trying to keep this clean, so I can't say the things I want. But if the first thing you ever drank was if you wanted to drink some fucking fuck, then it would taste amazing to you.
Yeah.
All of the fucking just fill up my cup with that fucking fuck, and I will drink the fuck out of the fucking fuck.
I'll drink the cup of fuck.
You would think it tasted fucking amazing.
Everything in the 80s appealed to children.
I mean, I know this is the 90s, but they brought Surge back, and I was really excited about that because I drank a lot of Surge in the 90s. And then I had it and went, this is terrible.
This
Why
appeals
do we
to
like
infants.
This appeals to young children.
Yeah, like families in the Appalachian Mountains who raise their kids drinking Mountain Dew. They're the ones who like Surge. There's your market over there. Don't be feeding me, Zima. There's a reason that went out of business.
The only reason this appeals to anybody is they want to develop a urinary tract infection so they can get out of school. There's no other reason to drink this. And Zima, yeah, that's coming back.
I like crystals in my pee. I like it. It's the feeling that lets me know I'm still alive. That's also why I stab myself in the arms.
Now, Crystal Pepsi.
Horizontally, not vertically.
I got in trouble the other day on the radio.
The radio.
Because somebody on the show I was on asked me what the number for suicide hotline was. And I was like, oh, I used to have it carved into my wrist. And I got yelled at for that?
Why?
I don't know. Apparently
wait, I get it because that's not actually the suicide hotline number.
No.
Well, it's like
it used
numbers.
to be. I don't know what it is anymore.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well, if you carved it hard enough, it would have left an imprint.
Should have.
Oh.
I guess I just didn't try.
I guess he saw through that it was a lie. Well, that's why you got in trouble for lying.
Yeah.
I don't lie on the air. I'm not on the air.
Yeah.
I don't lie on the internet.
Probably why you don't, yeah.
I don't lie in bed.
Yeah, you don't. You need to sleep.
I do need to sleep.
Zima was awful.
Yeah, it was. But
was Crystal Pepsi the Zima of soft drinks?
Or New Coke.
Yeah.
But you know the conspiracy theory behind New Coke?
That it was developed after 9/11 to take our minds off of 9/11.
That could be. That'd be one of the dumber conspiracy
I've seen Loose
theories.
Change. That's in there.
It is?
Yeah.
I haven't seen Loose Change. I saw The Red Pill.
Yeah.
Really good.
Same movie.
Pretty much.
Only instead of vaginas, it's about Twin Towers.
Instead of vaginas, it's about change.
Yes.
Okay. What they did was, Coke was manufacturing Coke back then made out of sugar cane. But then they figured out that corn syrup, which was made in the great old USA, and you wouldn't have to import cane sugar from Mexico and South America. Yeah, and the Caribbean, who I have an intense loathing of. They're just like, okay, well, how are we going to switch recipes from corn syrup or from cane sugar to corn syrup? They go, oh, well, let's make new Coke, which tastes so terrible people forget like the old Coke tasted like. And then they're like, oh my God, this is terrible. My taste buds, they're burning. Like, okay, well, we'll bring old Coke back, but it's not the old Coke that they thought it was.
Yeah.
It's no kind of Coke at all. It has corn syrup in it.
Right.
And that's
so
bullshit.
they were able to bring it back and still
under
fool
a
us.
new name, yeah. And it would still say sugar, but back then sugar could describe corn syrup because it has the same ingredients as
See, that's
sugar,
not the conspiracy
but
theory I heard. The conspiracy theory about Coca-Cola that I heard was that it was the new Coke thing was they were trying to compete with Pepsi, and then they put it out and with the realization that it was going to taste bad. And then they could take it off and then just bring back Coke Classic, and everyone would be like, "Oh, I miss the old Coke." And it was like, like when a musician kills themselves, people don't realize how good they are until they're gone. And then they come back to life later, and people are like, he was amazing. I'm so glad he's back. I'm glad he faked his death, so now we can all appreciate him again.
Yeah, I haven't heard one good dead musician.
Not ever.
I mean, you put a guitar on them, you put a drum set, you put a keyboard, they don't do anything.
You need to reanimate them.
It's very minimalist.
If I was a Dr. Frankenstein,
Brian Eno.
I would just go and reanimate the corpses of Jimi Hendrix, Keith Moon, Kurt Cobain. I need a bass player.
I don't know who any of those people are. Herbie Hancock, but he's alive.
Lemmy from Motorhead, he played bass. And then just put them all in a band of Frankenstein, so they'd all have like, zippers around their heads and bolts out of their necks and everything.
That's
it would
a
be
racial stereotype.
It would be an amazing band.
They're not.
I know it's a racial stereotype, but how else are you going to do it? How else are you going to reanimate the corpses
Have them wear a
of
shirt
dead
that
musicians?
says the Frankensteins.
What?
The Frankenstein's monsters on it. You don't have to have the zippers on their heads.
Stop
Just have
calling
them
it
wear
Frankenstein's monster, you PC. Oh my God.
What am I supposed to call it?
It's not Frankenstein's
Blueberry?
Okay,
It's
well,
not Blueberry.
Let me ask you something. Who
Posit me a question, Jonathan.
Who
Me.
brought Frankenstein to life?
I did.
Victor Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah, him.
Right? Mm-hmm. So Frankenstein also called, even in the movies, Victor Frankenstein father, right?
What?
Yeah. So if he's not somebody you can call Frankenstein, why does he call his father Victor Frankenstein father if he's not a Frankenstein? He's a Frankenstein.
You're basing this on what a dead creature has to say.
Yeah. A dead creature thinks that his dad has the last name of Frankenstein. It's fine to call Frankenstein's monster Frankenstein.
Okay, well, follow me here. If you're dead, is your brain living or your brain dead? I'll wait for the answer.
Want to say if you're dead.
If you're dead.
Dead. It's dead.
Is your brain living or is your brain dead?
Dead?
Brain dead.
Yeah.
So you're taking the answers from a brain dead creature.
No, that's the whole
like
point.
Terry
It's been
Shivago.
reanimated.
80s.
Terry Shivago?
Terry Shivago, whatever the fuck her name was. Wasn't she 80s? No, wait, she was 90s.
It was like, no, she was like 2004.
Who was she?
Terry Schiavo was the woman who was brain dead, but her eyes could follow a balloon. So Glenn Beck made a huge deal about how we need to save her.
Terry Shivago.
Dr.
Shivago. Terry Shivago's doctor, as you may know, is Dr. Shivago.
That was the problem, is she could only go to doctors with the same last name as her, and they weren't very good.
And they were all brain dead, too. We don't know how they got their degrees. So that's the 80s.
So is that all the 80s?
No. There's also pointy cars.
Pointy car. Yeah, that's true.
Like every single car except for the Porsche 944s and 911s were pointy. That was the future.
Because we were worried about the Russians invading, and so we needed everything to look like weapons. Cars, women's shoulders.
Oh, yeah. Judith Light was always rocking the shoulder
pointy
pads.
Fucking shoulder pads. Hair needed
Susan
to be pointy.
Lucci?
Yeah. Susan Lucci was very angular.
What other?
Shoes.
Yeah, Susan
Tips.
Shoes. Shoes and nipples. Yeah.
Elizabeth Shoe.
Shoes and shoe. Yeah. And all the electronics were very pointy, too.
It's true.
90-degree angles on everything.
Yeah, nothing was rounded.
And
Everything had to be a square.
Yeah, if you didn't cut yourself touching it, you'd have to throw it back to the design people.
Yeah.
They're like, this is too round. You got to have everything stack on itself. You got to have the 8s that are just 2 boxes on top of each other. That's how it is. You can't round stuff out.
Because we never know when the Soviets are going to invade.
You see a round 8, you think it's weak. You see a square 8, you're thinking, oh, I'm not going to mess with that number.
Why would you?
I don't know.
Got 2 holes.
Maybe you hate 8s.
It looks like the top is the same as the bottom.
It could be like 2/3 of a bowling ball.
You put it on its side, it's infinity.
Oh yeah, like the infinity ball from the Tick.
But the Soviets, so that was a big thing.
They were bad. They were bad.
Back in the 80s, the guys...
That's
Russia, back all the way back then, 30 years ago, Russia was considered this bad country.
Yeah, Russians were the Germans in the 80s.
Right,
Most people don't know that, but Germany was Soviet Russia.
Right.
And there was a wall in Germany, and they called it East Berlin.
Yeah.
And they had to take down the wall so they could move from West Berlin to East Berlin, which is also now known as Russia.
And thank God that happened, because now they're our best friends, and we get along with them great. Everything is going so swell.
We're no longer afraid of the Russians.
No longer. I mean, honestly, I can't wait to go to Russia.
You probably shouldn't say that. The government is listening. Yeah,
well,
you've got a flag by your account now.
If Russia wants to me,
you're problematic.
I'll just live with Edward Snowden. Me and Eddie.
Really,
we'll be snowed in together.
You're problematic.
Did you ever get that? Like, how he moved to Russia, and his name is Edward Snowden. So he moves to a country where it's snowing all the time, and you're like, of course you're snowed in because you're in Russia. Stupid.
Was he from the 80s?
Stupid.
He wasn't from the 80s.
I believe he was born in the 80s.
No. Wait, was he?
I think so.
He might have been born in the 70s and skipped the 80s entirely because I don't remember him in the 80s.
I think he's younger than me, so he'd be maybe late 80s. So the Berlin Wall came down.
Yeah.
In the
because
80s,
they wanted to get to Russia.
In like I think November of 1989. So it's just they had to get it in before it was 1990. If they waited too long, they'd be like, then this means nothing.
And the cool thing about the A's is you had to watch everything live. Or you couldn't watch it. That's the thing. And it could only be broadcast once.
Yeah.
So you'd look in the TV guide. It'd say like, okay, on Thursday, the Berlin Wall is going to fall at 7 o'clock. So I'm going to park my ass in front of the TV set, watch at 7 o'clock, and watch the Berlin Wall fall.
Yeah.
If you watched after that, you couldn't. Because it doesn't exist anymore. They just showed live TV all the time.
All the time. And the great thing about that, though, was it made everything more important. Now nothing's important because you can tape it.
No, yeah, that's completely true. Because, I mean, for example, like, I put no value on the movie Goonies anymore.
None.
Because you can watch Goonies anytime you want.
Just go back and watch it over and over again. Yep.
But in the 80s, you had to like look at the TV guide, and it might not be in a particular month. So you just be thumbing through it like a stupid idiot. Say, oh, where's the Goonies? In this dumb book I bought at the store, because I'm an idiot and I buy books at the store where I should buy groceries instead at the store. And then it's not in there. So you have to wait for the next month. You're like, okay, man, the Goonies are coming up this month. I'm still retarded. Hopefully that changes. It's not that much. So you wait for the next month. You keep going on and on.
And what happens in the next month?
Goonies hasn't even been made yet.
What happens in the next month?
No Goonies. I'll tell you that much.
Okay.
Everything but Goonies.
Everything but Goonies.
Up until 83 or 4, wherever the hell it was made.
I think that the best thing about the 80s and the Berlin Wall falling and Goonies and everything being so temporary
that it's over.
Was that we don't remember any of it now.
I remember
so
it.
We're totally basted.
But then how are we talking about this?
We don't have to go back and remember. Well, obviously, if we remembered how bad everything was from the 80s, then we wouldn't be constantly trying to bring it back. Like Zima, like Roseanne on Netflix, which was a good show, but why do we have to have it again?
And also wasn't in the 80s.
It was too.
No, Roseanne was
1987.
What?
Yeah, it started like
1987 is not the 80s. That's you round up to the 90s. Anything before
round up to shit.
Anything before 1985 is the 80s. Anything after is the 90s.
So what decade are we in now in 2017?
The 90s. We're in the 90s. It's simple math, Jonathan. Jesus Christ.
Sorry.
Also, the Sandra lady was a lesbian.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah.
Sandra Bernhard.
Yeah. She had a career. I don't know what happened.
She was the ultimate test of being nice, because most people would look at her and be like, that is an ugly, unattractive woman. But if you're nice, you'd be like, yeah, but she's got a great body.
She did?
I don't think so, but I'd heard that a lot. Or some people would be like, no, she's beautiful. She's a model. Honestly, it's a divider of people.
She looked like an angry tooth that fell out.
She looked like she'd been sucking a Coke bottle and her lips are just swolled out past her nose.
She looks like something at the state fair.
She looks like someone at the state fair.
She looked like something that you would label as discharge.
She looked like somebody on that ride at the Ohio State Fair that collapsed.
She looked like one of the person you see fleeing from an accident. You don't know why. You don't know what happened before. You just see them running.
You're just going to run with them.
Yeah. And then the police come, and they're eventually arrested for something that they didn't commit at the time, but, they were just running for some reason.
Any more stuff from the 80s? Who's the Boss? Good show.
Yeah, Family Ties. I mean, but then again, the sitcoms, you start getting into stuff like Alf.
Were you trying to say Alf was bad?
No. Yeah. Willie Tanner was bad. And the guy who played Alf was like a cokehead who would yell at everybody and have like mental
And it
breakdowns.
was written by Jerry Stahl, who was a heroin addict.
Was he?
Yeah.
Good for him.
Yeah.
You gotta have goals. Family Ties. I mean, it's funny because Michael J. Fox, he was a staunch conservative. Look where he is now.
Yeah.
I don't know where he
Now
is
he's all like, hey, I need the government
No, wait,
to
he's
pay for
normal now, isn't he?
No. He
He's
still
not?
has Parkinson's.
Oh, well, I thought he got
severely.
whatever.
You thought they cured Parkinson's?
Yeah, and him.
Don't you think we would
like
know
with
about
Magic
that?
Johnson, they cured AIDS.
That's a virus.
What?
Yeah, that's
They
not a
cured him.
neurological degenerative
He's
disease.
not dead.
Yeah, he's
I read on InfoWars that he's still alive because they know the cure.
for Parkinson's or AIDS.
Parkinson's monster is AIDS, right?
It was just an achievement that we stopped calling Parkinson's the hippie shakes. That's what I was happy that we got past.
If we had a boss, he'd be angry at you. But my boss is a Jewish carpenter, my friend.
When there were one set of complaints, that was me reading them
Complaining
for
about
you.
myself. That was me waiting for ET to pick me up. Okay, ET, anytime. You can do your magic anytime.
So yeah, Michael J. Fox was all the rage in the 80s.
Yeah, because he was like a conservative and his dad was a hippie and his mom was a hippie too.
In Back to the Future?
Maybe.
Yeah.
They didn't really focus. No, wait. They did focus on his parents, his mom.
Yeah, they didn't talk about his parents at all in Back to the Future.
I like how in the Back of the Future, one of the biggest obstacles was him not having sex with his mom. Like in any other TV show, that would be an easy thing, or a movie, it'd be an easy thing
yeah,
to
in
not
every
have sex
TV
with your
show
mom.
now, everybody's having sex with their moms.
No, they're not having sex with
No?
their mom, and they're doing it with the greatest
You're
of
watching
ease.
the wrong shows.
You can just sit in a chair. You're not having sex with your mom. Okay, we're getting into R-rated territory again.
Sorry, cucumber. Sorry about that.
Sorry, cucumber.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a huge plot point. Like, and Alex, when you go Back to the Future, don't have sex with your mom. That was. Did you like that?
That was a good Christopher Lloyd.
I've never tried to do Christopher Lloyd before.
Yeah,
that was my first
perfect.
time.
That was spot on.
Because
now, dude,
I got the image of his him and Roger Rabbit.
Now just yell the Libyans.
No, I can't do it.
I can do a good him and Roger Rabbit.
Okay.
Remember me, Eddie, when I killed
Stop. I don't know why, but I physically put my hand to block my vision of you. It didn't work. The voice kept coming. Oh boy.
So Michael J. Fox, of course, time travel was all the rage.
Yes.
Big thing in the 80s.
He time traveled twice.
He time traveled twice?
Yeah, Back in the Future 1,
Yeah.
Back to the Future 2. And I think
That was
Back to
it.
the Future 3 was in the 90s, so it didn't count.
You're right. That's a good point. And of course, Back to the Future 2, he went to 2015. And I remember 2 years ago having flying cars, and the Cubs won the World Series.
Stupid.
And you could float upside down. For some reason, remember his dad was floating upside down?
Oh, because his dad was a screw up.
I believe his dad had Parkinson's.
Oh, that
Yeah.
makes you float?
In the future,
Parkinson's, the floating man seats.
if you want to help...
So if you say somebody floating, it's either a woman that you told to float, or it's Michael J. Fox's dad, and you're in the future, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. And then you have the tiny pizzas that you put into the hydrator, and it turns into a gigantic pizza.
I thought those were bagel bites.
We have those now, yeah. And
They're not good.
USA Today.
We have that.
What I loved actually was
That might not be
USA
good.
Today was a newspaper, but they had no idea that we'd have smartphones or anything. So it was a newspaper that had like e-ink, so it changed.
E-ink went out of style really quick.
It did. And I liked it actually.
Yeah, it was neat for its
Yeah.
time, but then it got replaced with LEDs really quickly because they found a way to make them low power.
Yeah,
and
I
stuff,
love my. I had a Kindle.
I had a watch that used e-ink, and everybody
Really?
was like, "What kind of watch is that?" And it's an e-ink when they go like, "Oh."
I remember the first article I read about e-ink, like in 1999 or whatever it was all like, "Hey, e-ink seems great, but here's the problem with it. If you're mad at something you're reading now, you'll just throw away the newspaper. Oh. But with e-ink, it'll be on this thing, like a computer or a tablet or whatever they thought.
You can't get
we'd
rid
have.
of it.
And you can't get rid. That was literally like
It's
a
the
newspaper.
albatross around your neck.
It was a newspaper trying to tell you, don't buy into this e-ink thing, because unlike us, which you should throw in the trash, you can't throw an e-ink device away, and it will permeate your soul because you'll never be rid of it.
Well, here's the thing. Every time I use the internet, I don't know about you, but I get angry. I've got a pile of monitors in the back of the house because I just pick up my monitor. I say, not again! The trolls, the flame wars, this is out of control. I just pick up my monitor, walk down, I open up the door, I go outside, I open up the outside door, and then I go outside and I just throw the monitor down and say, can't there be an easier way? Why isn't there an easier way?
So far, there isn't.
No, and I have to buy new monitors, and it's really stupid. I waste $600 a day.
And all that dust you're breathing in from the monitors when they break, that can't be healthy.
It's not healthy for me, no. It's not healthy for those around me either.
Speaking of e-ink,
Might say it's unhealthy.
Is that why you when you're
I cough
outraged
blood.
and angry, you cough ink, though? I mean, it's not.
I cough ink and blood.
You say it's blood. It doesn't look like blood to me. It is black. It is viscous. It does not resemble blood to me.
Well, before the invention of ink, let me ask you, what did people use to write down things? That's right, human blood.
Human blood. You're right.
Oh.
Blood is nature's.
That's the first ingredient. Before there was water, there was human blood. So, whenever you would want to water your plants, it would hurt a lot.
Yeah, that's why the gang initially was called the Crips versus the water.
Yes, because the Crips were Crips,
Yeah.
where you would bury people who lost all their blood while watering their plants. You got it. That is it. Wow, we've covered so much ground on this.
So much stuff in the 80s. Let's just talk about the year 1988 and what it meant to you.
Meant to me, Donruss trading cards. You got the Bash Brothers.
Okay.
That's in Fleer with Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire,
Yep.
and the third one was the catcher. I think it was Terry Steinbach.
There was a third Bash brother? I
Yes.
just thought it was McGuire and
No, I think it
Canseco.
was all three of them. I think
I don't think it was.
the unknown third Bash brother,
It's like the fifth
Larry
Beatle.
Curley and Terry Steinbach.
No, I believe it was Shemp. I believe that was the third Bash brother.
Yeah,
Was
there you go.
Fucking Shemp from the Three
Shemp.
Stooges.
No last name. You just get a plain credit that says Shemp.
And that same bowl cut.
Bill
Wait,
Ripken.
no, that's Mo.
Billy Ripken.
You're right.
Fuckface.
Yep, you're right. It was Billy Ripken.
Yeah, no. This is a separate thing.
No, it was
We're
Billy
talking
Ripken.
about baseball cards. I think was that 87 though. 87 Fleer.
Yeah.
Or 88, where they made the card with Billy Ripken. He had a bat, and on the end of the bat it said "fuckface." That somebody wrote in there. And then either Donruss or Fleer, I can't remember. I think it is Fleer. But they are like, oh no, we actually put the word "fuckface" somehow slipped by us, and so they quickly remedied that by making the card have a black box over it. But they screwed that up somehow and had white box corrections. And those were worth even more money than the fuckface cards.
Really?
Yes. And then they had another one, which was just all of it out. So there's like 4 different versions of Billy Ripken, who was never good.
Yeah.
I mean, Cal Ripken was good just because he played 400,000 games without ever
The only
injuring
thing
his
Cal
balls.
Ripken did that was good
got old.
was get old and not get injured. But
Yeah.
I've always said, if you're not playing hard enough to get injured, you're not that good.
Well,
Yeah.
who are you to say things about?
Fuck Cal Ripken.
He
He thinks he's so great.
Yeah.
People compared him to Lou Gehrig. Dude, Lou Gehrig played with Lou Gehrig's disease.
That's true.
Cal Ripken played with Cal Ripken's disease.
Cal
which
Ripken's
is,
disease is getting old.
It's getting older. That's
We're
all
all
it is.
suffering from Cal Ripken's disease.
It's aging in a healthy way that doesn't, destroy your bones and cartilages.
Whereas his brother, he had Billy Ripken's disease, which was being a fuckface. And you got to fix that. Murder the internet.
All right.